Okay, very warm welcome. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Susanne. I'm happy to contribute to your interesting meeting, which is the preparatory meeting for the diploma concept development. And I'm happy to be part of this consultation group to develop this concept for career guidance, diploma development in Egypt, which will be starting in 2017. My name is Susanne Weber, Philipps University of Marburg in Germany, and so Professor Khalil and as well the director of the GIZ program, Career Guidance in Egypt, Mr. Helmi, has been inviting me to contribute to this interesting and relevant event, and I'm very happy and looking forward to the diploma course starting next year in 2017. Now, what can be my contribution to your conference, to your meeting here? Actually, we here at Marburg University, we do as well kind of career counseling program for young students, and it's called Network Coaching Future Designers. And we want to address future professionals, just first semester students entering university in this program. And it is a train-the-coach strategy for future-based counseling, for leadership, for development of the self in transitional phases in higher education. So I wish to contribute some conceptual ideas for the development of your diploma course in career guidance based on the Marburg experience. And of course you have to see and analyze whether what we do here at Marburg University and what we experience as valuable and working experience can be useful for you as well over there in Egypt. So a transition is a core issue for us in this program because students entering university are in a transition phase, and of course transition is not only relevant from school or other professional experiences into university, but as well, of course, from school to work, which is an issue you address there in Egypt, but of course as well in any other life phases it will be relevant, because in our modern times work lives are shaping quite a lot, and very often we find ourselves in transition. So we think that transitioning and reflecting transitions and the way we transition is very important in order to make us more able and more reflexive in our way to go through transitions. Now, what is our perspectives and what is the overview I can give you for the next half an hour? I'm going to go through this. Very briefly, our perspective we're addressing here, the first part is supporting transitions into higher education, as well support professional growth of students through and by higher education, and then we're going to address the theoretical foundations very briefly and go for the conceptual perspectives of our program, Network Coaching Future Designers. I'm going to present in the third step the model Network Coaching Future Designers we experience here at Marburg University. And then I'm going to talk very briefly about our transformative evaluation and research design concept, just to give you an impression how we interlink the practical work and program development and realization with research and transformative evaluation here. And then, of course, I will be coming to the fifth step, which might be most important and relevant for you, to go for the suggestions for potential transfers and transformations for a diploma course in Egypt. Of course, you will have to see the possible fit of what we do and make it fit to your concepts there. Okay, so what is our starting point at Marburg University? We're addressing first semester students, as I already said, and it is the freshmen, fresh women coming into our university, especially in our education department. So we are kind of a pilot program for the university in order to see whether we should reformulate and change the entry phase of studies for our students. And so just the first semester is a very important socialization phase. We are convinced that is a very important experience space for students, and they should make experiences which are supporting them to become active and self-reliant students. So that's why we start with this course just right from the beginning of the first semester. What the vision we carry along with in this program is to shape futures for future professionals into higher education. So as you can see, we don't address them as just only freshmen or fresh women, or as the students just coming from school and they feel like sitting in school in a way, maybe when they enter, and they still carry this mental model with them. But we want to make clear that it is different to be in university than to be in school. So we want to make them feel that we address them as future professionals. So address them like they will be in the future. So that makes a big difference from my point of view, how we look at them and how they will be regarded and seen in our settings here at university. Now, what is our guiding question and what is important to us to realize here? University should become a space for orientation, for enabling and for discovery. That's what we think, and that's what we try to establish here with this program. It's kind of a cultural development, if you wish, as well an institutional development here, because it is always the institutions and the professionals who make the big difference to the young ones coming in. So we want to really make them experience a different world than they may have in school. Going for the value base, we're addressing, actually we want to support social sustainability in the society as well. That means we have to reduce social selectivity as well in our society here in Germany. We experience that social selectivity still is an issue, unfortunately. And as we can see here, we have, if you wish, educational traditionals. That's students coming in with their parents from academic background, and of course that does make a huge difference whether the parents have had the academic experience themselves or whether they didn't. So we have as well the non-traditional students, and with the expansion of the educational system, with the massification of higher education, of course we have much more students coming in from different social backgrounds, so social inequality or equality is a relevant issue here to address and to integrate in our programs. So, given the fact that if we look at the empirical data here, we have 77% entering university coming from a family background with academic context, and only 23% students entering university with parents from non-academic backgrounds. So obviously, it's 3/4 to 1/4 is a difference, and it's a quite still existent not only difference, but as well, if you wish, inequality issue we have to deal with and we have to work with. Now, that's a cornerstone of our approach here to see what we can do in this field. It's one basic value. And of course, as well, the value of bringing about change agents really contribute to the change in society, given the fact that our students are in education and social innovation fields, so we want to really make them able and support them in an early phase to become change agents for society. The program itself is funded by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research, so we have a big program running at the national level, which is called Pact for Quality Teaching, and many universities get funding from there as well. Marburg University is receiving national funds, and we get these funds as well in our program to be able to establish a new model and as well a kind of an innovative format, and really go for a pilot program as a potential for transformative education in our discipline of education here, and then maybe have the diffusion and the dissemination in the other disciplines and fields. Now, as I already mentioned, social inequality in the background is a relevant issue for us. Theoretical foundations which are relevant and important for us is Pierre Bourdieu's approach of social inequality as a social cultural reproduction. As I already said, it does make a difference whether your parents are from academic background or whether they aren't, and that is what we mean when we talk about social cultural reproduction, because the world you live in, the world you have been educated in, the way of speaking, the way of thinking, the way of preferring even meals, dishes, even whatever might develop, the way of perceiving others, of course, as well. Your values, all this is influenced by this born into a specific sociocultural setting, and so we want to take this into account quite a lot in order to see, depending on where you start in your life course, the path, the career path, the trajectory is quite different, of course, and we should take this into account in order to make this more reflexive, because we see, obviously, that the results are quite relevant here. So we see the strong connection to the concept of capitals, the economical capital, of course, which is core relevant. We know the material conditions, especially in a system which is not free in education as you have it in Egypt. Of course, we here in Germany do have a free educational system, but still you see the results that 3/4 come from an academic background and only 1/4 doesn't. So obviously that is more than only material conditions, but material conditions, of course, will be relevant too. So we're looking at those trajectories as well, collective trajectories, and we think of this embedding and positioning taking place in society, and we want to support in opening up towards equality for those different groups, be it social background, gender issues, as well regional disparities. We will see that they're relevant. Now, what is our approach when we talk about our concept here? It is to foster the sense of possibility, because this is as well is a notion of habitus. This as well is a notion of being socialized in specific cultural worlds and milieus, to really think of, do I believe in opening up perspectives for my own life, and do I believe in opening up perspectives for the lives of others, which is of course very relevant if you think of the multiplicators, of the trainers, of the ones who will be supporting others. So we address very much the sense of possibility and open horizons for students. That's what we want to do. And go as well for social entrepreneurship, for sustainability and social innovation, given the fact sustainability is an issue in order to as well go for the planet, in order to be able to exist as humankind in the future, and social innovation, of course, to create equal and peaceful societies, especially. That's an important goal as well. In our globalized world, we experience that peace is becoming a more and more relevant issue, obviously. Okay, so going for our strategy, what we're addressing here, we're going for students' early professionalization, as I said, and support this early professionalization in real-time train-the-trainer approach. So this real-time train-the-trainer approach is working in co-production, co-creation, and you see it's very much an art-based, image-based, and aesthetics-based approach. We really want to make students experience what is their own background and their own biographical experiences, and as well, of course, go into visioning and imagination approaches in order to make them design and create their own career path and personal development and professional development for the future. Now, what is the 4-layer structure we are realizing in our program, Network Coaching Future Designer here? As I said, it's a multi-level train-the-trainer approach. So, of course, we do have a quite well-integrated approach here with the academic and higher education connections, and with the experience-based learning modes. So we go for the providing theoretical and empirical foundations to students within the lectures. I will be giving them in our lecture hall, of course, and there's 200 students sitting there and listening, and there's not that much experience based, of course, because it's more transmission of knowledge. And what I do within the program, of course, is as well to develop the program design, to develop the research design, the analytical design for this transformative evaluation. So this is the part of the program leadership in this first field you see here. The second one is, of course, our trainers. So it's student trainers. It's always a master student and a bachelor student in a team, in a tandem, and they work together and do and realize the train-the-trainer approach, training the network coaching courses and network coaches in those weekly trainings within the duration of 2 hours weekly. So within a winter semester, always I get those weekly 2 hours. And then the trained students, now it's 60 students we're training, and then they will have, that's the third group you see, that's the participating network coaches. They participate in those weekly courses. We have been 6 courses so far last winter semester, parallel courses with the same content, and a group of 12 trainers training them in order to make them to become change agents at this early stage. And they're trained in the network coaching contents and methods, and they will be then guiding a self-organized student network coaching peer group. So this is what happens with the third group here, the participating network coaches. They will be in this train-to-train approach, training their peers in this real-time approach. So they provide knowledge to self-organized network coaching peer groups. It is the fourth group you see here in this circle. The group number 4 is those peers, and so every coach will have 3 or 4 others, peers, to be trained by her or him, so that it's peers working together in those self-organized network coaching peer groups, and the coaches will be supporting them in their learning process. And self-organized learning of contents and methods they have learned, so it's really like an organizational development and a network development approach for their personal development and career guidance as well. So that is going for the potential of transformative learning here for the transition and designability we will address next. So if we take a closer look to the program as such, we see that our program Network Coaching Future Designer is quite relevant as well to support transitions, as we said, into the sense of possibility, and really to support opening up doors, mental models if you wish, and as well mental models of others, really integrate this, and to be able to shape as well society and not be a passive recipient of where knowledge is just transmitted into. What's our concept? Now let's have a look to our program design as such. And you will see 4 core elements here. So that is the first core element is, as I already mentioned, the transition. So it's the institutional passage into university. The individual and the collective is experiencing this entering in the study mode into university. So we are addressing this as a social biographical process, and in the lecture, of course, as a theoretical based focus on transitions as well, empirically working with cases and empirical cases and how students transition into university in order to see there's huge differences according to social background, how people transition, how students transition and make the transition into university. So we will always have 3 or 4 sessions within our program for the winter semester to address the topic of transitions. Now the second part is habitus reflexivity based on the theoretical foundations of Pierre Bourdieu, already heard of, the French sociologist and philosopher. We're addressing the self-reflexivity, so to understand the self in the cultural and social institutional context. So that is to see what is my social background, what is my cultural background, what is my institutional context here, what's the university. And as we said already, for some it's kind of a space which is not far from them, it's close because their parents already have been experiencing university, so they have been even learning the language, the academic language in their households already early by just being raised and growing up. And the other ones, for them it's not that close, so they will have to have more support in entering and being successful in this academic world as well, this higher education world. So we go for making this biographical reflexivity happen in our course, and again 3 or 4 sessions will be addressing this second cornerstone. Now going to the third one, it's designing social innovation. As we say, we are preparing the next generation of change agents for society. we go for methods and approaches to support social innovation, and they learn how to do social innovation approaches by methods and by the relevant designs, like design thinking, methods based on the presenting approach of the MIT Boston and others, which are quite interesting and relevant for future development there. Now, the fourth step we are addressing is the career counseling and career guidance element. Where do we want to become, and who do I want to become as a professional change agent? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? Where do we want to contribute in society and really be a professional change agent? So we connect quite a bit, and I think there's an interlinkage very much to the diploma course you have there in Egypt already, relate very much to the world and the work of Richard Bolles. What color is your parachute? It's a very nice approach from our point of view, because it's not primarily information based and transmitting information to students, but it's very much based on their personal development, their professional development, their identity, as well personal value, reflexivity, to reflect on personal interests, personal abilities very much, as well the fields where people would want to enter. So really get a strong orientation by working it out, what is important to me. And exactly this is what people need most, as we see in this professionalization field, to go for at an early stage, and not to have students just finishing their studies and then later on say, oh, now I finished my studies, I got my BA degree or I got my master's degree, and unfortunately I don't know what to do in life. So actually we would want them to get this, come closer to their wishes and to their values and their hopes, where they want to develop into. And from there to as well change the mode how they study. Because of course then you will be studying much more focused, much more identified with what you do, and much more intrinsically motivated in your studies at university. So that's what I think is, for us, it's a very valuable aspect here. Now, let's take another look at the framework we use here in this program, which is the designability framework, which is based on the work of the United Nations decade, and worked out very much as well with UNESCO on the field of designability and the competences to shape and to design future together with others, and that is 10, if you wish, competences and abilities we use as a foundational framework, which is of course very helpful and valuable as well then for evaluation, as well for our orientation, what we want to achieve, what we want to get as a result. Now, if you look at these bubbles just coming along with those 4 cornerstones here, you see that one of the first relevant issues, of course, is the first one is while transitioning, while entering, is to motivate oneself to become active. We don't want to have just passive students being recipients and filled up with knowledge, because that don't mean that much to them, and they won't change by it, they won't take it up that much, they will just forget it maybe. So we think that the more we bring an interactive setting, and the more we can make them active parts in learning and interactive learning modes, they will be having success as well in life. So we want to address them motivating themselves to become active as coaches, as peers, and then we want, of course, being in this role, we want them to be able to motivate others to become active too, in order to change a culture of learning as well in university. To be able to participate in decision making, we want to support democratic learning cultures. We want to support as well democratization of institutions, because we are very much convinced that it is helpful to have a dialogical world of co-creation to shape the way we learn together, the way we co-create our programs, the way we develop our institutions. So decision-making, participation is a democratic value we want to support here. Then the third pillar, the second pillar we addressed here is the pillar of habitus reflexivity, as I already explained, and we're going for our analyzing the self and social and cultural institutional setting. And here, of course, it's very important to go for reflection upon the guiding images, which, of course, in general are not reflexive to us. So we act all the time without reflecting, what are we doing here? What is the value behind what I'm doing, actually? To what I was just contributing, or to what I didn't contribute. So maybe this is something to get closer into our viewpoint here, and to see the light builder, it's a word which is now a global term, and a German term which is used to really go to what is the inherent mental models, the orientational patterns, the guiding images coming along with what we do, as well how we study or how we teach, of course. Second is to show empathy and solidarity with the disabled, with the poor, the weak, and the oppressed, because we are convinced that we should not just carry along for egotist or ego-oriented development, but really go for empathic learning as well, because in our societies we only can survive or have a good way of living together if we are empathic and solidary with the others, and so we see how we can support this in our frameworks here. So coming from this habitus reflexivity, our orientational patterns, our values, then we go for the design educational context, social innovation. So what do we want to contribute? If we have clarified what is our values, what's important to us, then we go for designing it and co-creating. So that is what the designability framework is all about, to develop new perspectives and knowledge with an open mind. We know that is always quite relevant, and not always people are open-minded. And if you think of interdisciplinary co-creation, if we think of the background of social backgrounds of gender issues, of as well, of course, religious differences maybe, or I don't know what might be all the differences or differentiations which are taking place. That's, of course, something to reflect on and to open up for co-creation. If we want to have a working and peaceful and happy society, then we need co-creation. So that's what we go for, in order to learn to plan and act together with others, and to go for creating interdisciplinarily understanding and action. So it's really modes of learning and planning. It's design thinking approaches we address here. Now the fourth step we're addressing is to be able to plan and act autonomously, because we think that it's very important to support students very early to become not only active but able to plan and act autonomously as well, and to go for thinking and acting foresightedly into the future, and not just, as I said, be late at the end of our studies, be oriented and then see, okay, what should I do in life, but really start right from the beginning with reflexivity and co-creation. So coming from this, the topics of our self-organized network peer groups are our transition into the university, to ask what made me come here, who do we want to become, to go for social backgrounds and perspectives, to reflect together collective experience of societal conditions, as I said, going for socialization and study strategies, and then to develop those ideas for future solutions, to search for better solutions, to design social innovation, and then to follow own hopes and visions, how to develop future in cooperation with clients, and how to develop adequate strategies together. So the practice we are following with here is peer leadership in those self-organized students groups, and they really learn by the methods to guide and to orient and to govern themselves in that sense. So what is our diffusion dissemination results? Because this is an issue you might be interested in, given the fact that you want to have a quick and effective dissemination as well in your program. So we have a program outreach after now having 3 cycles done for around about 102 participants trained in those courses over 3 years. And with this multiplicator and train-the-trainer approach, we have additionally reached 240 peers in those self-organized student groups. So in total, just at the end of this year, we will have 162 trained participants and around about 360 peers reached. So, of course, something else which is supporting this is to go for the media strategy and information-based. So we have been doing several films in English and mostly, of course, in German. But there will be a little bit as well in English, so you can, if you wish, have a look at our information-based and see this on the database here. So we can see we have a short trailer in English for participants. We do have another one for the target group of decision makers, because of course if you think of diffusion, if you want think of distribution, you will always need as well to inform, to involve and to get decision makers in, be it the school administration, be it school head teachers or school directors or whoever is decision maker here will be relevant. For us, it's of course different departments at Marburg University, and of course trainers, because the third part, which is an 18-minute film, will be for really a training film in order to learn this program and how to deliver this to others. Okay, so very briefly, let's talk about our transformative evaluation and research at Philipps University of Marburg. We do here our transformative evaluation approach is based on multi-perspectivity, because we think that it's very important to give the different perspectives and to get the different perspectives of all the stakeholders in the program in. So that is the program leader, of course the program design, the organization side, the program administration, and our university administration is addressed here. The second group, of course, as well, is the trainers as such, who are the program providers, if you wish, and they are the ones who support and to do the training with the multiplicators, with the network coaches, and as participants of the program. Of course, they do have a completely different perspective, and as well the peers will have another perspective, of course, the ones who are trained in the self-organized groups. So all the stakeholders here, be it the one who does the lecture, in this case it's me, or be it the trainers, be it the coaches, or be it the peers, the program administration and the university administration, everybody's got a different view. Students as future professionals, and of course on the program and the program delivery. So that's what we want to try to get in, to have in our triangulation strategies with a mixed methods approach. So with a quantitative and qualitative research designs, we go for learning here. To learn out of the program, to go for transformative evaluation, and in order to have organizational learning and program learning as well on the way over the years. So I'm not going too deep into our designs here. You can have a look at this and later on get in touch as well if you wish. We do guided interviews, we do quantitative surveys, we do group discussions, and all the different methodical potentials we do have here. And I'm not going too deep into the strategies and the difference of the different years depending on the dissemination and the size of the program. Of course, we have to use different approaches, so I'm not going to focus here too much. Just you can look it up if you wish just later on. Now, the part you will be most interested in, I think, is the potential transfer and the transformation you might wish to adapt and to change for the diploma course in Egypt. And let's have a look on what might be potential elements to take up. I think there is kind of similarities based on Richard Wallace and the approach you take in Egypt, as far as I can see, as Shainas Khalil is doing a PhD here with us at Marburg University. Of course, we get some insight already in the program as well in the evaluation. She's just doing at present, and so it's quite close, of course, the transformative evaluation approaches and the image-based approaches we use here at Marburg University. Now, of course, what you're doing already in your course is the core elements of transition making, of self-awareness, of opportunity awareness, which is all given, and I think you will stick with this, of course, which is core of the program you do already there. we would suggest to maybe include something which is, as far as I can see, is not systematically integrated in the program design so far, and which might be, from our point of view, a relevant topic as well for Egypt, which is what we do in our program is supporting social sustainability, starting from social selectivity, educating change agents. So to use and to take those dimensions of heterogeneity systematically into account, to really go for social inequality versus the goal of equality, of course, the gender issue, going for gender equality, and start from the inequalities still existing and analyze them and take them into account as well for the research designs and for the program work, and as well, of course, region disparities. We can clearly see as well in the data Susanne's Khalil is raising so far, and the analysis she's doing, that there is difference between the urban and the rural sites. So maybe this is something to systematically take into account in order to come closer to the background and the needs of the special and different groups here. Now, a second suggestion we would address is raising the topic, what we address here, the sense of possibility, and going for social entrepreneurship and for sustainability, and as well for social innovation. As far as I understood, when we met here at Marburg University with a colleague, the program director Helmi, he said, well, we plan to take up the social entrepreneurship issue. So that's something I would definitely support very much. I think that is important, especially given the situation in Egypt, to have social entrepreneurship going, not just wait for the labor market to solve all the problems. People should be supported in developing own strategies as well, and go for entrepreneurship strategies and social entrepreneurship strategies. Of course, sustainability, as we said, well, we should be able to survive on the planet, so maybe sustainability, and not only social but as well ecological sustainability, will open enormous potentials in the future as well, markets. So that is something where students might go for, and which might be integrated here. And of course as well social innovation, go for systems learning, for a regional development approach maybe as well, which is, I think, valuable as well. Remember that Hillary Clinton said it takes a village to raise a child, so maybe we can think of more integrated regional development approaches. And as far as I can see, you have been doing quite a lot already in this field, integrating the firms, talking to different stakeholders, involving all of them. So that is, very sure, something which is very valuable to go for social innovation and system approach thinking here. So that's the recommendation, include social entrepreneurship, social innovation when developing this concept of diploma course. Next suggestion we're addressing here is to support early professionalization in this real-time train-the-trainer approach, and maybe just given the fact that you really want to have a quick and efficient and effective dissemination all over Egypt. Maybe a conceptual suggestion could be to use this real-time train-the-trainer approach to create maximum dissemination and to have a stable quality delivery, because of course you will need to supervise all the different levels. That's what we're doing here as well, and it turns out to be quite successful actually. So we have been very nice results with this program, so we think that this should be possible to do that as well in Egypt. Another suggestion for career counseling diploma is the designability approach, which might be helpful as a framework and goal set for sustainable transformative learning. As we said, it's a global concept based on the UN agenda and strategy for sustainability, so that is nicely grounded and international strategy here, which allows to give competence-based or ability-based criteria, then as well for evaluation, to see the concept of designability could enter into the conceptual framework, from my point of view, would be helpful, and to systematize learning goals accordingly. So focus maybe less on information-based goals and more on personal reflexivity and discovery of capabilities. As we see, this is what people remember most as valuable and important to them. So that's as well evaluation results. Susanne's Khalil is showing us that, in fact, those close to the individual related topics and methodical approaches will be most relevant for people. So maybe focus on this even stronger. So another one is the topic of peer leadership in self-organized students group. we would suggest to establish communities of practice among the diploma students, so they might become multiplicators in real time, be it to their families. I mean, they all will have brothers and sisters, so they could train to do this just directly in the real-time approach, or as well not to their peers, or to the BA students, which are as well who are there in the universities. So that might be a possibility to include them and to empower and enable students right from the beginning by experience-based learning. So just don't wait to have an internship sometime, but just start from the beginning to really go for, make them experience what they learn directly. So that will be wonderful diffusion effect on the way. Okay, so then the next suggestion, which refers to the media strategy, and of course I know that you have been doing media activities already. As far as I know, there is a film already on your course and your activities and career guidance. So I would suggest to go more for the media-based information strategies for different target groups and to be involved in stakeholder groups, so that would be a suggestion to go for diffusion, dissemination strategies. So show what the program does and can do for interested stakeholder groups, and go for contributions and film formats for participants, one for decision makers and one for the multiplicators and trainers, so that might be helpful to broaden maybe the media strategies you have so far. Next suggestion we are addressing here, and now we're coming to an end. That's the last slide I'm offering here, that is addressing the topic of transformative evaluation and research. What I said, put it quite briefly here at Marburg University, go for representing multi-perspectivity and transformative evaluation research. It's always based on theoretical foundation. We always use a participatory research design because we're convinced that this is the best way, a dialogical way to learn what has become important to participants. And that's what actually we want to know most if we do an evaluation. What is just in the end coming out of it for the participants who have been the beneficiaries, if you wish, who have been benefiting, hopefully benefiting from the program. So use an appreciative inquiry focus supporting organizational learning and the creation of solutions, which I think very nicely fits as well to the Egyptian culture, to go for a solution-oriented way and not, I don't know, to blame others or to say who should have done what when. Really go for forward-looking into the future and see what we can learn out of our experiences. So I hope that it could contribute a little bit to your developmental group there, and to the development of the program design and the conceptual design of career guidance. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to contribute. Of course, if you wish, just stay in touch by virtual or as well, of course, other modes of communication. Here's our communication data, as you can see in a minute, and as well, of course, we'll be happy to receive you here and to host you if you wish to have a look what we do here. You will always be welcome to come to Marburg University in Germany. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a very successful meeting to go on with the development of conceptual approaches for your career guidance diploma course in Egypt. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.